Awesome. Well, I'm so happy to have all of you here and that you followed your intuition to come here. And it's funny because, I haven't really been as in tune with my own intuition and all this stuff. Like
Mhm.
my whole life, like I've always felt it, but I was still in that mindset of, oh, this is just like woo woo goo goo stuff. But I'm
Mhm.
starting to learn even like all the clients that end up on my calendar. It's like everyone sort of reached that precipice in life. They're like, okay, like I'm just going with my gut. I'm going to follow this. And it's almost like spirit literally takes like their jacket and just like drops them in my lap. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay, I know what to do to do with this.
It's awesome. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's really cool. And like I said before, I've seen other people, on TikTok, whatnot, and I don't know. It's just like the energy matched. So I
Oh,
felt it. So just wanted to
thank
share that with you.
Thank you. Well, we have a lot of
Yeah.
really great stuff to cover today. And it's funny how like everyone is so different. Like I just never know what I'm going to get or what comes forward and here we are. So, yeah, but we'll get started. Any questions that you have, like feel free to like interject at any time, ask questions.
A
Now,
question.
yes, Michelle.
Hi. So I see you're recording this. Will we be able to get a copy of it, or are you gonna post it somewhere?
Yeah, so I'll be reposting it inside Sōlchemy, and I also use these workshops for my YouTube.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yes. And but if there's anything that you need me to edit out, which I doubt today, like nothing is that personal, I can do that too. So, but this is like basic stuff because I'm not going in that deep. I'm just kind of getting a very surfacey what's going on here. Just easy stuff today. But I always think once I go through everything, it's almost like there's a lesson for everybody in it because how it all works, and just like I was saying, like spirit like drops people in, it's like everyone has a consciousness match. Like our energy, like we attract each other in the most perfect divine timing and way. So even though I might be talking about Michelle, it's like there's an aspect inside each and every single one of you that like needs to hear that as well. Because I'm going through this and I was like, oh, I've heard this recently. Like I'm going through this too. Like even though it's like so different, there's a message for everyone in it because we're all plugged into this collective consciousness. So I know Noelle, you said you're at a doctor's. Is this a good time or do you want me to wait?
Yeah, this is a good time. I just have to go around like 1:35, 1:40-ish.
Okay, I'll just wait. I'll just wait because she was my first one. So no problem, Noelle. No big deal. Next one was Stacy. Okay, we'll start with Stacy.
Oh, I was saying like I can be here till like 1:35, 1:40.
Oh, I thought that you were sitting
And
at
then
the
I have to
office and
jump
you were
off.
free at one. Okay,
No,
got
no,
it.
no. I just have to jump off it then. Sorry.
No
And I'm
problem.
trying to get my camera to work, but it won't work. I'm sorry about that
That's okay.
too.
Are you at the doctor for your throat?
Yes. For my throat, and then like my breathing has been kind of weird this month. So I'm
Okay,
hoping to get those addressed.
right. Well, it's interesting that you came to me for throat issues. Sorry, I'm just moving my curtain because my dad is an ENT doctor, and I have grown up with literally the absolute worst sore throats of my life. Can't figure it out. Like, I've had my tonsils removed, and it's just like a chronic issue that I still deal with. And literally just this week, I was with my intuitive business coach again, like the consciousness attraction and match. Like, one of the things I'd ask, like, what is required of me? We're talking to spirit, like, what is required to get my business to like move the dial? And they're like, there's still an aspect of you that you're holding yourself back because there's a fear there. Like, your higher self isn't really being channeled. Like, you still, when it comes to TikTok, when it comes to things that you post online, it's not that like it's a bad thing. Like, you do kind of like try to like make things a little bit more kosher than they really are. But it's like your higher self wants to speak its truth. And that's why your throat keeps hurting. Because I've had a sore throat all month. And I was like, so again, the body is always a guide. It's always a compass for what is trying to get communicated to you from the other side. Always. So when I took a look at your throat, what I was seeing that this does go back to a life, Noelle, England 1800s. Young girl, sick. I felt very dizzy as soon as I went into it. And I saw your mother taking care of you. You did pass away as a young child. I asked what happened, and then it was some infection. And then I heard polio. And I was like, oh, okay. Because then I got images of you like sitting in a wheelchair and stuff. And I am kind of embarrassed. I had to look it up. I'm like, we hear polio, but what does that really mean? Like, I don't know. And they're like, yeah, it would affect limbs. So kids would be in wheelchairs. I'm like, okay, good.
That's interesting
Uh,
because I feel like I have the worst coordination. Like spatially, I'm not able to move very well.
Interesting. Maybe that's why I was so dizzy when I went into your energy too. Interesting. I wonder what that's about. Yeah. But you couldn't do things the way other kids could. But here's what was created. So it's not always just about like the situation. It's about the emotions and the belief systems that we attach to it. Oh, good. We have someone else coming in. Let me just admit them. So in the process, it's like we create specific imbalances, basically, is what happens. It's like, what is the truth? The truth is like, we're not a burden, but you believe that you are a burden. So there's a karmic imbalance there. So that gets communicated to you in this current time-space reality from your consciousness because it does want to be balanced. So I also saw, it was just like a quick bit, kids playing on a seesaw, wanting, oh, okay, this was strange, like wanting to play. Okay, so your parent, like both parents of both kids, like grabbed the kids from the seesaw playing because you guys just had to go. But the child's interpretation was like, what was it? It was like, oh, my parents like don't want me to play. Like I'm a burden to them for having to like be at the playground, even though that's not really what was happening. But in your mind, in your reality and projection, this subconscious belief of you being a burden keeps playing out. It does stem from a parent-child dynamic. Yeah, in another life too. Again, you were a young child. It kind of felt like Middle Eastern, maybe Arabian. And you wanted to go, but your mother still wanted to stay and party and dance. And then you perceived yourself as a burden again. So explore, Spirit said, have her explore why she feels like she's a burden and to practice self-love. So let me dig into you a little bit, Noelle. How does that resonate with you?
I'd say yeah, definitely. Like I'm in grad school right now, and like my parents have to help me out financially, and I kind of feel bad about that. Like I would like to be independent.
How
Um,
old are you?
I'm 25.
Okay, so you're still young. 25. Okay. Then what was your childhood like? I'm curious, like, do you, or maybe you don't remember, but did you harbor those type of emotions?
Um, I feel like I would process my emotions on my own. Like I never went to like ask for help with that for sure. Like all the difficult emotions, I just kind of would work through it myself without talking to people about it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because sometimes these programs, the funny thing about doing energy work, which I would categorize past life as energy work, it's like we have these things that sit in our energy that we have no idea. Like, no idea. Because when I do things with my healers, like I'm constantly in sessions myself, just because now that I'm aware of this stuff, I'm like, okay, clear, 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 clear. And it's like things come up and I'm not even interested in them telling me what it is anymore. I'm like, can you just clear it? Because it's like I could sit there and consciously try to think of like, oh, when, where, how, but it kind of doesn't matter. It's more of just like an observation. And you're like, oh, okay. Like this is sitting inside of me. setting the intention can take you miles of just starting to remove that. So take their advice on this, Noelle. Do explore why you feel like you're a burden and change that belief system around.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
There's,
definitely makes a lot of sense.
yeah, because there's some contemplation for you to do here. And I'll think of like, I'll see if I have any like meditations or something that I can send you around self-love. Because you'll soon realize, and actually this goes great. Michelle, I'm going to do you next because it's kind of a perfect. Sorry, Stacy, I'm skipping you again.
It's okay.
But I'm going to go into Michelle's because this is kind of a perfect transition because Michelle, you wanted to talk about career.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited about this one. Before I talk, can you just tell me like where you're at? Like what's happening?
I feel like I'm everywhere. At the same time, I'm nowhere. So in my mind, like I'm a really creative person and I'm a very I'm a go-getter kind of person, you know, like I put my mind to something, I like it, and then I go and get it. But then for some reason, something just always stops me or blocks me, or and then I have to try again. And then I'm just always in that like never ending cycle of like good energy, everything's great, I get into it, and then I don't know what happens. And then again, like, you know, I get like really messed up and then it just goes downhill, but then it goes uphill again, then it's back downhill. So yeah, I've just been trying to figure it out. Like right now, I've been a lot into the creativity side, like kind of more in influencing, a lot of acting, a lot of theater work. So I've just been doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how old are you?
I'm 21.
And then do you have a job?
Just acting gigs, really. Nothing like permanent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was seeing, we'll go into the past life first. And by the way, you are 21, like give yourself some space. But you know, I went through just like total hell with my work for a long time, which is what brought me into this type of work. And I would have loved to have known about this type of stuff back then. So just engaging in this now can significantly shift like where you're focusing because I saw you, you were a man in this rich home in India and you were like their butler and you were tending to the bird cage. It was kind of cool. Like you open like the
Oh,
windows and like you take care of their birds and stuff.
that's funny. I have a fear of birds, right?
Not in
Like I have
that
a
way.
massive fear of birds.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Okay, fear. I want to see I'll see what that's about later. Fear of
Okay.
birds. I don't know. Maybe something you picked up in your childhood. But the thing was like you were a part of that home. Like you didn't see any difference in the like lack of equality. You know, like we kind of perceive that like, oh, you're the butler, so there's like this hierarchy. That really wasn't that at all. Like you were part of the family. There was an established respect. Your needs were met, you were loved, and you enjoyed taking care of this family. And you had a very close relationship to the man of the house. So when one accepts one's role, you realize that there's no hierarchy and there's no like place where you're supposed to be. You're just in it. So you create your own blocks. Oh, wait, here we go. Sorry. There's no hierarchy. Okay. You ground what's in front of you into your highest wisdom. So whatever you're in, like even these little acting roles, like you just ground yourself in that. Because the thing that they're saying is that you create your own blocks when you resist what's in front of you. Ask yourself, what is here for me, and see how the doors will open.
Okay.
So do you ever feel like you get, I guess, take me through this. Like, are you getting these roles and then just it's like, you're kind of like either not good enough, not exactly what you wanted, or like what's the mentality?
So what I've been realizing, and it's funny, the older I get, like I'm seeing I'm having like a fight within myself, literally between like I guess spiritual and physical. So I'm realizing like, me deep down, my soul, I'm like, okay, this is what I want. I'm gonna get it. But then as I literally start progressing in it, my brain, Michelle, is like, no, this is not what you're wanting. No, you're not good enough. No, look at how this person's looking at you. And then like Michelle will like mess me up. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is not for me then. And then I start all over again.
Right. Well, then there's the resistance.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
It's
I don't
like
get
your
it then, because
ego.
why am I resisting?
It could be a variety of ways. I mean, that's just kind of how our mind works. Like our mind is designed to keep us safe, but it also keeps us small. If you watch it inside Sōlchemy, I have a free workshop called Your Magic Mission. And the very first one, or is it the subconscious? I don't know, day 1 or 2. I talk about that
Okay.
because it's like, for example, when I was saying like, why am I holding myself back? Like, why am I not really going like the full on here?
Mhm.
If you really look at the like the root of it, it's because I've gotten killed so many times for speaking my truth in past lives.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
literally the life before here, I was killed and I came right back in.
Oh,
And then I've
wow.
dealt with like the emotional turmoil of that. So this
Okay.
is sort of like my healing journey is being channeled through entrepreneurship and being
Mhm.
okay with expressing myself.
Okay.
But my mind, my subconscious remembers. And it's like, you've been killed for this, like many times, please stop, sort of thing.
Okay.
But then it's like I like hold myself back. So there's like a process for that. So you have to, I guess, I mean, there's a lot of things that we could do, like
So would you
hypnotherapy.
say something maybe from my past recent life? It was like, now that's what's stopping me in this life, essentially. Like something blocked me there, which is now like I'm overthinking it now.
I think, well, you know what, that's a really good question because what they're saying is that this was more of like the embodiment of what you should be doing. Is to kind of stop resisting it's like almost like you're judging it,
Yeah. Yeah.
where it's like here you didn't judge it, and therefore you didn't live in the existence of the illusion of, again, the hierarchy, good or bad. It was just like you were there and that was your role. And you
Okay,
went
that's making sense now.
like you truly, like you were kind of accepted it. You're like, this is my role.
Mhm.
I'm basically the butler, but like you took care, like you primed it like it was your garden.
Yeah.
And it was easy. Because of that, it was easy. And what did it, if you were, I guess like this is just me like consciously speaking, not in it. But what if you had resisted that? Would you have put up walls with the relationship with the family? Would you've created, would you've had watched the kids grow up? Would you've had that relationship with the man? You know, it just
Okay.
kind of blossomed for you in some very loving way. Like you have fun, that's like a good life. So it's like, what happens? Again, let's go back. Ask yourself, what is here for me when you put down your walls? When you stop resisting what the universe is literally throwing to you, you ask yourself, what's here for me?
I think this makes sense now, because the household I grew up in, they were very opposite of me. You know what I mean? Like I was always like the black sheep. And so I think just subconsciously, you always try to be the opposite then, right? Because you're trying to fit in with the rest of the world.
Right.
So this is making sense, the resistance now.
Yeah. And there's a lot more we can talk about here. And I see that you're on my calendar. So we'll talk
Okay.
then. But the last thing is there's another life too where you were like some sort of pastor or something. You worked in a church and you did work for the church and you took care of the commissioners. I feel kind of dumb asking this. Commissioners, are those like churchgoers? I'm not
Kind
really,
of. Not essentially. They're like the people are part of the congregation of the church.
Okay, took care of,
Yeah.
so I saw took care of commissioners. Basic tasks, but you took care of the other needs first. This was your heart work. And it was your, here we go. It's your own resistance of what's in front of you that creates your own blocks, the belief system that she needs to be someone else in order to be something. Okay. So we'll go into that later. But just so this workshop doesn't go on for too long.
Yes,
Even though
thank you
I
very
could
much.
stay here all day, but I know we all have stuff to do too. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to Stacy. Yay, Stacy. Okay. Life purpose. Okay, I did this a couple days ago, so I have to remember what it was. Duties for other. Oh, okay. They just showed me an image. I don't know if this was that in actual life. It was just an image of like a princess and a knight, like you were the knight. Okay, and what the symbology was for is that you've come in through these different lives for duties for others, always fulfilling a mission for somebody else. And that was the theme. Like you come in like, so like I kept saying theme. Like you're always taking the instruction and fulfilling that mission. It's never like yours. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Also, I got the words blind follow, government, for example, and then they put me back to the night duties. It's like you're just kind of told. It doesn't, just blindly follow it. Very Renaissance-y area. Okay, you did have a life in the Renaissance doing kind of government stuff. And there's a belief here, I must fulfill my obligations. So we'll go into this. Okay, so the problem is like when I get the things come through, I have to write so quickly that I look back and then I don't know what I wrote. So give me a second. Okay. Take a look at areas of her life where she does things out of obligation. Is it really necessary? What if she removed her sense of responsibility and allowed herself to just be? She made space for allowance. Where would this lead her to? Strict structures, rigidity. I hope this is resonating with you.
Yes, it is. It is definitely. And as far as my family is concerned, I feel like I'm like the peacemaker. Like I'm the one that has to take on like the responsibility of making sure that everybody's okay. And I feel like recently we actually moved states. So we're completely away from family. And for the first time, I'm like, I work 100% remote. So I'm in like isolation kind of.
That's tough.
But it's giving me time to really think about myself more and kind of put first. Whereas I'm used to always being there for my family and being the one that's like taking on their problems and listening to them and trying to help them and just kind of not really doing stuff for me. So when you spoke in the beginning, I feel like that part resonated with me because I feel like, yes, I'm one of those people that is always just do for others. And then what am I supposed to do? What about me? And then I have all these ideas and then I don't follow through with them. So I feel like listening to other people speak on this call, I'm like, wow, yeah, that kind of sounds like me in a sense. It's nice to hear. And yeah, so it does resonate. It does.
Okay, good. Because there is more here too. And this goes a little bit deeper. And something tells me that you probably aren't even aware of this. Like, I just kind of feel like, again, what I was talking about, where it's like, there's that underlying thing that we operate from, but we're just totally oblivious to it. So I saw an image of opening okay. They're giving me an image of you opening up a book and going ahead and just clearing out all the words. So it's just like you take the book, clear out the words, and now you have like an open book for you to create what you want. There are religious tie-ins here. So this is past life influence from religious backgrounds where they basically installed a fear of God inside of you, which equals a fear of self. So there's an inability to kind of really step into this freedom of like sense of like your sense of expression, which is kind of how this falls back. You go up to like fulfilling duties for others. It's like your worth then is like fulfilling other people. But if you were to actually express yourself and look at yourself, there's a fear there of doing that. And then she can, oh, here, they took me back to the book. So she can write out her feelings and express herself that way. So I think that's kind of interesting. I'm curious what those lives look like though, of you being like fear of God.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. See, because I would love to go into like every single one of you longer, but it's like, it's just like the question of time for me, honestly. But that's basically the layout of what they're saying. So we could go in, like, if you were to want to work with me, like, we could easily go in there and start going into those lives, clearing that out. We want to change the fear of self into acceptance of self. And I must fulfill my obligations. You know, it kind of reminds me a little bit. It's like, think about how we like what we come in and we're so conditioned. And it's like we think that we have to abide by a certain, like, even like a moral ground a little bit. Like I must fulfill this and like live my life through like the means of this. Because one of my clients that's an alchemist, the very first session that I did with her. So it's a 6-month program where I work with all my healers. So we come in to understand like who you are deeply and then just start uncreating all this stuff. And Spirit had to say that she was from like basically a whole other solar system. And she really, really, really wanted to be human. But she had experience on Earth coming in like as an extraterrestrial where she did work with humans in Egypt, which is funny because she said she's dreamed about Egypt her whole life. And she saw this, like one of the humans that was like a servant, and she had this like affinity for this guy or girl. I can't remember if she was a male or female, but she would watch this servant and she wanted to create a relationship with them so bad, but because of her role within this, like, I don't know, whoever they were from, it was like she didn't want to cross those boundaries. And the person that came in and was speaking to us through the channeler was actually Mary Magdalene, which was really cool. And she's like, you know, you have to stop worrying about morals. I was like, whoa. I'm like, yeah. She's like, because you hold yourself back. What if you did get to experience a heartfelt relationship with this person? What would have happened? But it's like your own sense of obligation towards this sort of made up grounding of morals held you back. And now you want to be human and give yourself permission to have those heart-centered relationships. So stop holding yourself back, remove the obligation. So that's what this kind of reminds me of a little bit. So that's kind of a good thing for you to ponder, like write down, like, what do you really want? What do you want to experience? What do you want to be? Like you can do anything. We just got to get outside of that box. So I'll leave it at that. Okay. Damaris. Are you there?
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, hi.
Okay. So this one's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
So Damaris, I had a really hard time getting into her consciousness yesterday. And this is actually not uncommon either, because the client I was just telling you about had the same issue. And actually, this is so funny that this is transitioning into that, because I almost feel like you're from the same place as she is. Like I was seeing the exact same thing as this client. Like it was so funny. And I'm like, is this why this is like so difficult to get into? the thing that I kept seeing was hard time connecting. And right now, you're being forced to feel your emotions.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
what's going on there?
So I'm 20, so I just had my, I think, 9th house perfection year, which is about spirituality and transformation. And I've just been really kind of like deep diving into suppressed trauma. And it's just been making me analyze and dissect a lot of suppressed emotions within this year. It's been a lot.
Okay. Okay. Because sometimes, unfortunately, it is through those traumas that basically throw us headfirst into feeling and experiencing human emotions. Sucks. It sucks. But it's all for its own divine planning and whatnot. Now, I wish that I had a little bit more for you on this because I mean, I would have to really, really take some time to see what's going on and where things are coming from. And I almost suspect now, after hearing you talk, that I don't think I'm really supposed to give you anything.
Mhm.
It's like you're just supposed to be going through it, which is why it felt so scattered. But what's interesting is like, okay, like, why am I not getting in? Like, what am I not seeing here? Which I guess I'm probably not supposed to see it. I have this little device called the Healy. Has anyone heard of this? Okay, so I'm obsessed with it. My friend recommended it to me when I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. It's FDA approved for it. And my friend was like, yeah, it basically scans your energy. It sees where there's like dysfunction and it starts balancing your energy. And when I used it on me, it not only told me, like the scan said, oh, joint pain, which is what I was experiencing, it told me where in my body I had it. So of course I bought the thing and I'm like, I'm going to use it for all my clients. So let me show you. I went ahead, I reached out to Damaris yesterday. I'm like, I can't really see anything. Can I scan your energy with this? And she's like, yeah, sure. So let me show you what came up. Give me just a second and I'm going to share my screen with you. It's really, really funny. Well, I think it's funny. I'm entertained by myself when it comes to this stuff. Okay. So Sarah, share screen. Okay. So basically what this thing is doing is I grab their picture, I put her info in, and it does read her aura and her chakras. Okay. So it will tell me the most relevant things that are coming up that are basically being played out in her 3D reality. So this first one is just saying that the person perceives freedom on the personality level and thus feels free to be what they want to be. So that's a good one. Now, but we go to the second one and I was like, no, it's so funny. The person perceives feelings as an illusion, but at the same time experiences a lack of feelings, which is exactly what I was seeing because it was just like she's being forced to feel her emotions right now. There's just like a lot going on. So it's like your spirit knows that. And so this stuff is being thrown to you for you to balance this out. And if you want to know where this energy is coming from, look how detailed this is. Where it says 1E36, that means this is ancestral energy. So you incarnated into your body because of the genetic line for this reason right here, which is kind of cool. Probably one of many, but it's INT7, which means that's pretty heavy. And then I think the next one was this too. The third one, again, INT8, so pretty heavy. It's sitting in your sacral chakra. The person is aware that they have no contact with their emotions, leading to a lack of emotions. So I hope that's pretty accurate. It usually is. But we won't go through this whole thing.
Okay.
But I was saying to you, like, this POT will tell me where, why, and how it's sitting. LM means that it's emotional and mental in which it's being experienced. But if we go down, almost all of these programs here is emotional. So C, let me go to, hold on a second. I want to look something up. C, yeah, C is emotional. That's right. So all the stuff is being carried out through emotions right now, and sometimes, and this can be carried out in subconscious things as well. But I'll send this to you. And all my past life sessions, FYI, I do send this to them at the end. So it's nice just to kind of have like a hands-on look at your energy. And I did mine yesterday. And I was laughing because it told me that this said this person is aware of the incarnations of spirit. I was like, whoa, that's really cool. So, soul retrieval for you.
Yes. Oh my God. That I've gotten that before in a psychic reading with another. Yes.
1000%. I kept hearing that loud and clear. You need to do soul retrieval. Let's talk. I want you to work with one of my healers. She just did this week with one of my alchemist clients too. She was just all over the place. And she's even said, like, I've never have truly experienced joy in my life. And it was like all of this trauma from past life and childhood, like her soul left her body. And she's left with all these fragmented pieces trying to like operate. Like, it's not going to happen. So let's talk.
Yeah.
Just do that. Okay. Soul retrieval. And don't worry, it's easy.
Okay.
Cindy will do it in like 5 seconds.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. We did Stacy, we did Meredith, we did Michelle, Melissa. And then I see Karina, you're on here. Were we emailing back and forth? I don't think we were.
No, we haven't, or at least I haven't gotten anything.
Okay, because I think I may have messaged you and I didn't. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I messaged you this morning and I didn't hear back. So I didn't channel your past lives, but I can do that at the end. I'm just gonna need a few minutes.
That's okay. I go to work pretty early in the morning, so that's maybe why.
No problem. No problem. But we can do that. So Melissa, you're a fun one. I'm excited about this one.
Hi. Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm
I'm
excited.
glad you found me on TikTok.
I am too.
Okay, so the theme that came up for me is imagination.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Not soul retrieval, girl. Not word for word.
Not soul retrieval.
I don't know who said that.
We have all had lives, I'm telling you, where we have been through the shitter, and then we have lives where we get to do fun, imaginative, creative things. We do it all. You just happen to be in
Hey,
this.
you know what? I will say though, I'm 38, but you said you're 20. If you figure this out now, imagine how much you can help other people. Because then you'll understand the journey that they went through. So that's actually really powerful for you, and that's the way I see it. But
Yes, they're absolutely right. Thank you.
Me too. I mean, I really do, like, I'm serious when I say I wish so badly that I had this when I was 20 years old. Because this stuff could have changed my life. Because I was going through my entire 20s in medical device sales, and you think, oh, well, that's wonderful. Like, oh, you must be making money. No, I couldn't make anything. It was like everything had this magical way of like dismantling itself over and over and over again. And this one, I talk about it somewhere in Sōlchemy, and I've talked about it many times, so I'm not going to like rehash it today. But this one thing happened that was so stupid. And you're like, okay, something's going on here. This isn't normal. And I called our clinical specialist, and he's kind of like this old nerdy guy. And I'm like, got a problem. He's like, what? I go, there's an energy problem. He's like, what are you talking about? I go, there is something energetically speaking that dismantles my business. If I touch it, it will like explode. It doesn't just not work, it explodes. Since you've met me, I'm like, how have these crazy things happened? I'm like, this is literally the story of my life. And when I met Cindy, who's on my team in Alchemist, who does the soul retrieval, Damaris, she looked at my energy. She's like, yeah, well, financially, you are 100% blocked. Like 100%.
Ah,
Like you're never going to make money unless you handle these blocks.
mm,
So that's how this all started. And I started just becoming aware of what's sitting in my energy, clearing my energy. And like, once we dismantled that, I'm like, okay, well, what's next? Then there's love blocks, there's career blocks, there's like all of this stuff that we carry with us. And then I started going deeper, past lives, it's just like, it doesn't end. But when you start that uncreation process of all this junk that just like doesn't really serve you, that's when you start energetically changing and shifting your life.
mm.
So that's how all of this is working. So all of you like youngins on here, like there's a lot of really young people, like good for you. Please stay in Sōlchemy and like pay attention to this stuff is like the moral of this story. Like I want to shout like you can change your life. You just have to look in your subconscious. That's
Well,
it.
and I just want to say that if I completely agree with you because you guys are all starting so young. So imagine you're going to be farther than we are, much, much younger. I almost feel like this new age, the kids coming up now, they're going to be better leaders because they're going to be more self-aware. They're going to have these things healed. So anyway.
Right. But there's also a transition, and sorry, this is kind of going off a little bit because I think these youngins too are going to see this when they start having kids. Because the reason why things are so not fun right now, just collectively speaking, and you see this through all the conflict and turmoil right now, is that the planet is ascending. So all of this very, very dense energy, this negative energy that we've literally have created over these lifetimes and lifetimes is coming to surface. And we're the ones that incarnated now and said, okay, well, it's going to suck, but we're going to start bringing it out. Because the new generation right now, that like the babies that are starting to be born, their DNA literally looks different.
Yeah.
So if you think of our DNA as like these tight wound up DNA strands, okay? When you put light source energy, so God energy into that, what happens is that DNA starts like unwrapping like this, and it becomes lighter and lighter and lighter. And the big shadow that we are collectively ascending through right now is the shadow of victim. So that's all the stuff you're seeing right now. Now, these new kids are not going to resonate with that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So they're going to have a hard time because my generation, like Melissa, you and me, like we still collectively are existing in that paradigm. So there's going to be a lot of conflict. Yeah, maybe not personally.
Yeah.
But it's like our generation of people are still. So Spirit was sharing with me, like my work is going to eventually move into supporting these families because it's a tough transition, but these new kids are so much more light, like higher vibration, that they're just kind of the tail end of eradicating a lot of this stuff out. Because even in 50 years, they were saying to me in 50 years, even the currency of money is going to be so different because they don't resonate with it the way it is now.
Yeah.
There's like a trade. I thought that was really cool.
I have 3 kids. I have a 16, almost 17-year-old. I have a 14, almost 15-year-old, and then I have an 11-year-old. And they're so different, especially my middle child. She's like the wisest woman that's in this little innocent body. She's just a precious angel. She's just, I don't know. She puts me to shame every single day, but it just the stuff that they come up with is just, it blows my mind.
Mhm.
And I feel like they're on another level. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, they really are.
Mhm.
And thank goodness. I just really hope this next generation can enjoy their lives more than like where we're at now. Because it's like
Yeah.
the conflict does bother me. It affects me.
Oh, absolutely. Me too. I've had to get off most of social media
Ugh,
because I just can't.
oh my gosh. I know it is wild, but we'll go into some of your past lives. It was kind of cool because
Okay.
you're showing me that they're okay. They just went right into it. And they said there is an absence of imagination right now. This keeps people stuck in their traumas because there resists. Again, I write so once it comes in, I'm like, ugh. Okay. This
Yeah.
keeps people stuck in their traumas because there resists creative solutions to get out of it.
Mm.
Okay. This is gonna ruffle some feathers for people not
Hey,
like, okay.
go for it. Go for it. Ruffle
Okay.
feathers.
Being stuck in trauma is a choice. What happens when you remember your creative power? You become one with your soul, where wholeness resides. Creativity is healing. There is a memory underneath it of who you are. She, as in you, are going to trigger people who are resistant to this. It's going to force people to take a look at their own trauma.
Yes. Yes. Keep going. You're right.
It's going to force people to take a look at their own traumas, and they're going to say things like, she's a dreamer. But creativity is her natural state.
Yes.
So tell me, like when they told me that, I'm like,
Oh
this is
my goodness.
so
That is
cool.
so true. This has been a recurring theme in my life because I just think differently than other people. I have different ideas. I like to think outside of the box. And it really irritates everyone else around me who wants me to, be sensible. Because I'm not, I am and I'm not, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I almost love it when there is a problem because I think big picture, but then if there's like a little problem that comes up, I love coming up with a solution for it out of thin air, just out of nothing, out of something free. But then people around me get really irritated, like, well, this is not how it works. We have to do A, then B, then C. I'm like, you don't have to. You could skip past that and go to Z. And you know what I mean? And I
Yes.
just, it makes everyone so mad at me all the time. And then later I'm like, okay, I guess this worked out fine. But they hate, okay, my husband, we've been married since March of 2003.
Okay.
And he and I are polar opposites. So he's very sensible. Think OCD Virgo. Okay. Now, yeah, so are you familiar with astrology and human
A
design
little
at all?
bit, not
Okay.
really.
All right. Well, like if it helps, my three are Pisces, Leo, and Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio ascendant, Pisces sun, and a Leo moon. And Leo, Pisces, very creative and dreamy. The Scorpio wants to dig into things, and then I have a Gemini North Node and blah blah blah, which basically just wants to think of everything. I know that in astrology, South Node would be Sagittarius, which is like big ideas and philosophy and religion and stuff like that, and that all resonates really well with me. He is very, let's make a plan. Let's stick to the plan. Let's go over the plan. And I'm just like, well, I'll think of a plan when it comes time to think of a plan, and it's going to work and it'll be fine. In the past, I tried to write a novel. I had a great idea for a novel. My husband was going back to school because 2008 happened. He lost his job, then he got another job, and then they filed bankruptcy, and then he got laid off, and that happened about 6 times. He went back to school. While he went back to school, I I had an in-home daycare with my 2 older kids, and at night I would try to write. It what you're saying resonates because I was starting to really get somewhere with this book, and I had people who were saying you need to publish, and it was actually around the time that there was that Twilight series that was coming out in the movie
Oh.
theaters.
I was obsessed.
And I don't want to admit that I was also, but it was a completely different thing. It was like about the Irish potato famine, only there was fantasy and sci-fi and time travel and all kinds of stuff. And I was so excited. I had a bunch of people reading it and they were like, this is amazing, keep going. And then my husband was just like, you're you're not spending any more time with me. You're not going to bed at the same time. And you're like, we're not doing this, this, and this. And then and that wasn't such a big deal. But then when I said, hey, I was part of a reading group and writers group, and they were saying, I think you're going to do really well with this. And there was an agent who said, I think you're going to do really well with this. And I went home and told my husband, and he was like, oh, he wasn't trying to be not supportive, but some of his blocks got in the way. And he was just feeling, I think, insignificant or insufficient with money wise and providing. And he started to say out loud all of the things that made him feel insecure about being the provider. And I realized, hindsight's 2020, that at that point, I thought, if I continue with this, it's going to ruin our marriage. And I stopped. I got sick. I literally grew thyroid issues, the 2 huge nodes on each side of my
Expressing
thyroid.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a strict church where, when you're kids, you're just be seen and not heard. But my parents were a little kind of out there. My dad was a pilot. My mom was always helping him, and she was very entrepreneurial minded. So we were kind of like just doing our own thing all the time. And my mom, I remember she showed me when I have very early memories, but my parents were managing a little airport, and my sister and I were just running all over the airport. And I remember, just to get us out of the way, she showed us how to draw mermaid paper dolls. And I'm so sorry, I'm talking a lot, but anyway, after that, I just started drawing. So I draw. I used to have a pencil portrait business. I like to write. And I don't know, when you say creative, that's literally everything for me. I love anything creative, whether it's writing, art, my garden, my house, creating something out of nothing when it comes to problem solving, like a new invention that I have to do just because we don't make enough money, because honestly, we don't. So
Yeah.
but I do feel blocked because and just like you said, I feel like if I do what I know I would need to do, everyone else is going to have a problem with it. And so when you said that, I couldn't believe it. Sorry, that was a long way of confirming what you were saying.
That's great. No, it's really funny though, because I resonate with this as well. And I think that creativity, actually, I know creativity is part of my soul plan and purpose too, like big time, in terms of sort of inspiring people to remember the creative power inside of them. Because again, people don't want to hear this, but everything in our lives is of our own creation.
I know.
And it's like, we think our ego wants us to always feel good. Remember, that's like our mind's job. It's like, move away from pain, like stay alive. And so there's a little bit of like an ego burn, being like, well, no, I would never create that. Well, yeah, you did create it. And there's 2 reasons why it's been created. One, from a soul level, like we've wanted to experience duality and the negativity and all that, because we don't get to, that's not existent on the other side. But there also is a process within within this incarnation process, that we become so deeply engaged with the negativity and the karmic imbalances that we keep unconsciously creating. So even like, for example, maybe I was like running late for something, or someone hits the back of my car and this and that, like like I actually did create that.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, wait, well, what do you mean? And it's because there's somewhere there's a dysfunction that's creating an imbalance in my life. And that comes
Yeah.
forward through that creation to be like, hey, let's start balancing that. So when we stop tapping into our creative power, we also stop creating the stuff that we want.
I know, that's true.
And we think in this rigid box, well, we want to have this solution. We want that. We want to do it this way. Like you're saying, like people are like, no, we got to do this first and that first. Those systems drive me mad
I
because
hate it.
I'm like you, like I can already see Z. Why are we going through the whole alphabet?
Uh-huh.
Like, this is why I can't hold a job because they get me,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it's recently, like you and I would get along great, Melissa.
I know.
My last workshop, I'm just going to totally, and I'm going to admit this, but I was like, okay, I'm going to put together like this group program. It's going to be great. Like, I'm going to love it because I want people to tap into that quantum creator that they are. So that means healing these aspects, the unconscious aspects, and applying the massive, the downloaded creativity. Like, this is how life flows and is fun. I go through life like everyone else. Okay. Launch this thing and like not one person joins it. And I'm like,
Ah,
I was
no.
like, okay. I felt so discouraged because I'm like, okay, literally the exact thing that I'm preaching right now is like creating that. I can't even get one person in there. I was like, what the hell is this about? Well, what it went back to again was my higher self said, like, you wanted to create an experience of what it's like to not be in touch with the true message of what you're doing. And it comes back to that block. We want you to block, start clearing out this fear of feeling safe to express yourself. Like feeling safe. Look at, I kind of did it before. I'm like going to ruffle feathers, but saying things like being stuck in trauma is a choice.
Yeah.
Like imagine if I blasted that over TikTok. Come on. We all know the response to that. Like,
Oh,
yeah, but it's like, I also don't want to be,
yeah.
I don't like that attention, but spirit, but that is what triggers people to start the healing work. And that's your vessel.
You are literally speaking to exactly what I think. I've, you know how many times I've posted something and then I'm like, no, I'm gonna take that down. Or my kids tell me, Mom, that was cringy. Take it off. It's
Right. But it's like everything gets created for its exact reason. So it's like, how do we become those responsible creators? How do we become conscious creators? How do we actually create what we want? Why are we not manifesting what we want? Well, wait till I go down that path. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going to have to reword that because I do want people in there because this is such an important topic, is tapping into your intuitive creativity. Like it's wild, the stuff people could do with their lives, but it's like we're stuck in rigidity over and over.
And
and
you
over.
know, I know that's true. And I don't know how to get past the block. And that's the problem. I don't know how to get past the block because people have told me this before. And I'm just like, yeah, I know, but I do have a fear of rejection from my loved ones.
Okay.
Because they do give me a very hard time, and his whole family, they make fun of me because they're all so grounded and practical, and I'm all over the place. Like I'll be like, oh, you want to do this? Let's go, and that sounds good. Let's go. And you know what? There's a place for that. I respect them for what they do, but they're also very wound tight and constipated probably. So just, that's a joke. I really respect them for the way they handle life. They're very, like, the world couldn't run without them. But I feel like there's a place for all of us, and I just want to be allowed to be me and do what I do and be valued for it also, and not be rejected for it.
Right.
Or criticized for it.
Yeah. I get it. I'm going through that same thing. I really am. You and I both. And it looks like Michelle as well. But thank you, Damaris. We'll connect. Thank you for coming and everyone else. But yeah, it's like there is a process to this and an unfolding and a healing. And it's almost as if like in the past lives, all of us creative spiritual people were like
Burned at
killed
the stake.
and burned. And now it's like we're coming back to the other side of it. And there is a creator. What is her name on TikTok? She is like blowing people's nerves up right now.
Ooh,
Shifter or something,
the
creator,
what?
like quantum something.
Quantum.
And she
something.
made some comments, and I'm not saying that I agree with everything she's saying, like I'm not, but she is looking at things from like a really, really, really high perspective of what's happening.
Yeah.
And she brought stuff up with Kanye West. And I was like,
I feel like I know where this is going.
I knew where she was going with it. And it went downhill so fast.
See, that is okay. I see a limit with people right now when it comes to all kinds of people. The problem is that we have our goggles on. We got our political goggles, whether it's red or blue. You know,
Mhm.
I don't even care. You've got your spiritual goggles. We have the goggles of what we were taught our whole entire life. And what if none of that is true? What if none of that is true? And people also, you know, sometimes sometimes we skip right past what the truth is to our assumptions. That's all.
Right. That's what
And-
everyone's doing.
Mhm.
Like to assume. But I forgot what point I was going. Shoot, I forgot what point I was going with it though. But I don't know. I'm just kind of watching it. Oh, she also made a post. She's like, you know, everyone who is authentically stepping up and speaking their truth, and everyone who is reaching into their own spiritual truths and putting it out there. And she goes, and I see all of these negative, awful comments. She goes, I see you and I feel you, and good for you. Like we are rising. And the thing is, of course, everyone else is like, oh, you're a cult leader. And I'm like, it's not a cult leader. But
Oh,
I
dear.
felt that because that was literally the exact healing work that I've been doing, is rising above all this negativity. But it's like people are like, no, gotta stay in the box. But
Mhm.
I think we'll
dare
leave
you.
it at that, unless there's anything
Yes.
else. Karina, I think what I'm gonna do is, because it is gonna take me a little bit of time, I'll go through your lives, but I'll reach out to you outside of the workshop, because I feel bad you're literally the only one here that did not have your lives read. So I will get that done this afternoon, and I'll like send you a little video. So don't worry, I'll take care of you. But everyone else, if you attended the workshop today, I will also leave you a link if you want to do. I'm just going to give you guys a special for a reduced price past life healing session, just so you can get your hands on it. 60 minutes. We'll do the little Healy work with it as well. And if you're interested too, I do have my program up and running. It's a 6-month program where we literally come in from every single angle possible. And I have an entire team of healers, from energy clearing, intuitive trauma healing. Jacqueline is a powerhouse. She's all up in Sōlchemy. Take a look at the stuff that we've done together. So if you're truly looking to make a shift and go through that uncreation process so you can go in the direction that you want, I highly, highly recommend taking a look at this program. I'll leave the link for that too, so you can check that out and get on my calendar. If you just have some quick, simple questions, I'll be happy to talk with you, but I'll leave it at that. And are there any questions before I head out?
No, but thank you very much. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.